And a very good evening, everybody, and welcome to Fairway to Heaven, right here on Philadelphia Sports Network. We are live, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. You know the drill. Hit those like, share, subscribe, retweet buttons. Wherever you're at, share it out and get interactive with the show. As we're talking this week's Valero, Texas Open, or the prequel to the Masters, which is all that I really like. I can realistically just skip this week's show and just start talking Masters. That's because that's all I care about. I'm your host, Phil Stiefel, as always, at Bearded Knowledge on all social media platforms, and my main man, Jason Sullivan. He wanted me to read his tag. Phil Phil King. You know what? I don't even want you here. Okay? Get out of here. What kind of tagline is that? I mean, honest, but it's a tagline. What's up, Jason?
Listen, I think everybody should know that Phil was the safety director on a cruise ship. He was he was in charge of safety demonstrating, and then he told me he couldn't swim. So
I was not in charge of safety, okay? I was in charge of making sure you knew how to wear your life jacket and you knew where the life preserve or boats were. And yeah, so maybe I would have had to save somebody, but no, I can't swim. I'm a 43-year-old man that cannot swim. And now you're turning to Woody Page here. I'm gonna have to check your tagline every time before a show goes live.
I just remember the first time I met you, we're standing in the ocean in Florida, and you say, "Yeah, I can't swim." Did I ever tell you that?
I can't go out any further. I might
Yeah.
drown. You're
Oh, that's
terrible. You're terrible,
anyways,
dude.
golf.
Yeah, let's get to golf. Let's get to something that won't totally embarrass me. Although I will say, my golf picking is pretty embarrassing anyway this year. But we did turn a slight profit last week at the Texas Children's Houston Open, whatever it was called last week. Steven Yeager got his first win. Scotty Scheffler, another great run last week. Um, do you buy into, because this week it's really important. Last week it was a little less important. The theory that this week for the Valero Texas Open and last week, it's a lot of golfers' last tune-ups for the Masters, and everybody, especially the elite golfers, they really care about the Masters and the major championships. And this week you've got Rory, Hideki, Fitzpatrick, a bunch of former major champions in the field. Do you buy into the narrative not to play or not to bet the major guys the week before a major?
It's tough because it depends on the guy. I think with Rory, I don't know if you remember last year, Rory playing in the week before the Masters acted like he didn't give a shit at all. You could
Yeah.
you could just tell that he didn't care. So I don't know. I feel like the bigger guys, like Rory's, obviously he wants to get that green jacket so bad. But then there's question marks too for me, like Hideki, been playing so great. Obviously, he's been like the old Hideki. You know that he can win at Augusta. Do you play him? Is he going to be focused on this week? However, you do see I think it's 8 out of the last 11 winners here were first time winners. So obviously there's something to that, I think.
Yeah, I was thinking long and hard about this because I knew we were going to kick the show off with this topic before, looking at the event itself and the course itself. And I think the Masters guys, the Rorys, the Hidekis, and all of the world are better DFS plays than betting plays. Because I think if a professional golfer or a professional athlete of any kind is in an event, if they enter the event, they enter it to win it, don't they? And maybe they don't, you know, maybe they don't go full bore on Sunday. But I'm not worried. I don't know about you. Maybe it's different for you. I'm not worried about a majority of the top of the board this week missing the cut because they're too busy thinking about next week. Now they might miss the cut because they play bad or something like that. But I'm not worried so much about the quote unquote, we're just here. It's not like it's spring training for them and they're just working on pitches and I'm only going to throw curveballs today because I'm trying to work on it. I think that if you're in the event, you're in it to win it. Does that make sense? But
It
the
does.
theory that I'm going on this week?
It does. I think for most of the guys, I would say maybe the exception to that at the top of this field is going to be the Hideki play, because I could see
Right.
Hideki coming out and what if he has a bad second round or a bad third round and he's just screw this.
And that's what I'm saying. So I think you can get away with somebody like Hideki or Rory in DFS
Yeah.
because they're going to at least make the weekend. But if you have to watch the ownership on them, and you do have to worry about maybe a a slight lag, if that's the right word, on Sunday. Maybe they take their foot off the pedal a little bit. You don't want to be heavily invested in those guys for that. But I really believe these guys, first off, Rory has now won 3 years in a row in his last start before a major. Not the major, but in 2021, he won the Wells Fargo right before the PGA Championship. He won the RBC Canadian before the US Open in 2022. And then he won last year the Scottish Open before the Open Championship. So Rory, not only is Rory trying to complete the career Grand Slam next week, he's trying to complete the week before a major Grand Slam this week. If
Did you
that's
hear our boy Brian Kirshner was talking about that?
for that, BK, I saw that on his Twitter thread, and I thought that
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah. He
a little
posted that too, which is
right
really
there.
interesting to me. I mean, maybe there's something to that. Maybe Rory does want to be playing his best game right now. So
Yeah.
there's something to it for sure. I guess I think I have a related topic a bit. It's kind of
Okay.
playing off what you said, but it seems like they're getting golf betting's getting more difficult, I would say, especially at the top of the board. It's like these odds are so short now for these guys. It's like you don't feel comfortable betting the elite plays, the Scotties, even like this week with like Rory. It's like these odds are so bad now. Even like going down the board a little bit, like you see guys that are like the Steven Yeager class. I'm not saying him in particular, but like that class of golfer, like the mid-tier guy that like their odds are like you've seen their odds being in like the 20s and 30s now. It's like
Mhm.
I don't know. It's
Like
tough.
somebody like this week, so those mid guys, like Fitzpatrick 25-1. That's not bad. I did bet him. I think
Yeah, that's not
I
bad.
actually really like Matthew Fitzpatrick this week. We'll get into that in a minute.
Mhm.
I like a Rye, and you think Rye is like my guy that I have a fetish because I seem to bet him a lot, and I did joke that I was just looking at last year's notes on this. I bet Rye last year in this event too. But he's only 60-1. He's never won. He's not like this elite golfer. Patea. We always love to talk about Patea. He's only 50-1 this week. You know what I mean? Like some of these numbers don't make sense. It's hard. I mean, betting has become so difficult this
It
year
has.
on
It
golf.
has. Especially with the long shot winners. And then kind of
Yeah.
to play off the point of like the short odds, it's the two that popped out to me as I was looking at the betting board is betting on being 30-1. Like, are you pumped about playing 30-1 betting on in any tournament? Like,
No.
or
Now 80-1, sure, but 30-1?
even
No.
Noren's 30-1 as well, too. It's like you're not pumped about getting those numbers on those guys. Yeah, they're good plays, I think, at DFS this week, but it's like you're not psyched about getting those numbers.
I've almost considered just backing off of betting altogether because it's
So I'm
just
doing
so hard to hit these guys this year with all the long shots. And Steven Yeager, what was he last week? 50-1 or something like
50.
that, I think. Um,
But you're talking
he's a
dude,
solid golfer, and I'm glad he got that win last week.
yeah, but you're talking even a guy that was his first win. I mean,
Yeah.
100 I think it was like his 126th start or something like that on the
Yeah.
PGA Tour. Like that was his first win. He just before coming into this, it's like coming into like the last 6 tournaments. Kenny Kim was talking about this on their show, and he was saying like outside of his last 6 tournaments, I think Yeager only had 1 top 5 in his career. So it's
Yeah.
like that's not a guy that you bet. Like a guy that until recently just started showing that he can contend. I think he has
Right.
2 top 3s and a win in his last 6, but
I don't know. It's a tough one. All right, so let's look at the board. And let's look at the course. TPC San Antonio for a course like that. When you get that TPC moniker on your course, there's certain type of courses there. Sawgrass, always pops up and all, but it's kind of like a very basic. I'm not saying it's an easy course, not
mm,
by any long shot, but it's a very basic fundamental golf course. And it's the kind of a golf course that kind of eliminates some of the excessive, stats for golfers. Like you're not worrying about a proximity bucket or you're not worried about, shots gained, like certain things. You're looking at approach, mainly approach. You're looking at off the green, off the tee, and you're looking at ball strikers. You're looking at the basic core stats for a week like this. Do you get the same kind of feeling when you look at this course?
it is for sure. Like you're not seeing as much correlation in stats for sure. That's one thing. And then you're seeing, like you said, I mean, hit it long and straight here.
Mhm.
Play good around, or like hit some greens, play good around the green, and then putt a little bit. There's
Yeah.
not a lot. I mean, we're obviously dumbing it down big time, but like
Yeah,
there's not.
we are definitely dumbing it down a little bit there, but I mean, I
It's
think
not
the
a
point
crazy
is
course.
is
Yeah,
there, right?
yeah. You're not going to see crazy stats this week. I think there's a couple interesting ones that do pop up. There's a ton of sand. So
Okay.
I don't even remember if I've ever played sand saves before in a model. I did this week, so that's one for sure. And then what was the other one that I picked? Good drives, because this is another course. It's kind of like almost like Augusta in a way where you have to hit the ball long and straight, but there's not a huge penalty if you don't hit the fairway. You don't want to obviously bomb it way, to the right or way to the left, but like if you're just missing the fairway by a little bit, there's not a ton of penalty
Right.
for that.
No, I get that. I agree. So you look at the top of the board, and obviously, Rory McIlroy is there. The highest paid golfer at 12.3. They kept the 5K range in, but left Rory at 12.3. And Rory has obviously not had a very good Rory type season, but he's had 4 straight top 25s. Is Rory starting to trend in the right direction? Is that the right word? Right before the Masters here, like, is this really, really? If he really wants the Masters and his career Grand Slam, which he obviously does, is he trending in the right direction? And is this week more important for him than anyone else in this field?
It might be, honestly. I mean, like you saw him come out at the Players and lose strokes off the tee. Like if you're a Rory guy, that's really alarming. Like
That
that's
was the first time he lost strokes off the tee since the Wells Fargo of May of last year.
so that's
He's
not something
only
he's going to do often.
since the year 20. I'm going back to April of 2022. Actually, we can make this really crazy. We can go back to the end of 2021. He has only lost strokes off the tee 4 times in 4 seasons.
Yeah, that's insane.
No, Marshawn, I did not quit the breakfast show. I was a little vacay, went away for a few days to the mountains for Easter. I'm back. We'll be back live tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Don't worry. We're still here. Don't worry about that. But anyway, back to Rory. Like, you can't think that he's going to lose strokes off the tee. His approach game has been off this year, but at the Players, he got his approach game back into a pretty good, thing. He gained 4.2 strokes at the Players. We haven't seen him since the Players. A good 3 weeks off there. Let's just say to play or not to play Rory McIlroy this week.
It's a no for me. Obviously that stat that BK posted, obviously that's interesting with the
Yeah,
week
I
before the
kind of.
but to me it just seems like a no. I mean, it just doesn't. There shouldn't be a 5K range this week, I don't think. And then he shouldn't be in the 12Ks. I mean, like has Rory showed you enough? Scotty undoubtedly showed you enough to be 13,000 last week. No question about it. But Rory, he's been okay. He hasn't been really good lately.
Hell, Hideki's been better than him this year. You could make an argument that Hideki, who's next on the board at 10.6, should be as priced as high as Rory, if not higher than Rory.
And I think that's why you're seeing it. Rory's ownership right now is 9.8. That's low. Obviously, I actually thought
Rory ownership kind of. That's right, Marshawn. The real fairway to heaven, not a copycat. That's right. Does that 9.8% kind of make you like? Because Rory was not on my initial player list here. Okay.
Right.
But as I see that ownership, it had I did my research yesterday from the mountains, and it's only swung 0.3% from yesterday to today. So it's not like it's trending up or down. It's probably going to stay in that mid 9. Maybe it hits 10% maximum. Does that sway you? Is a 12.3 Rory at 10%, and he finishes, say, 10th place this week? Is that a good enough value for you?
It is, but I don't know. That's why
I'm trying to make the argument. I'm with you. I'm not a Rory guy this week. That's where I'm trying to give the people an argument that maybe they should be.
That's where I feel like DraftKings got it wrong this week. I feel like they made you make a choice last week with Scotty, which I loved, but I feel like they got it wrong this week. I think what if Rory was 11.5? I feel like that puts you into a more difficult spot where you're like, damn, that's not a bad price for the best golfer in this field.
But if his price was 11.5, would his ownership be higher?
Yeah, but that's what I think. Like, I almost want them to make that decision for you. It's like, whereas Rory's not good enough to have this price jump. I feel like he's not good enough right now to have that much distance between him and the second price guy, which is
it is a big distance. So you got Hideki at 10.6. You got Ludwig Oberg. Is it Oberg, right?
Oberg, yeah.
Oberg. I was saying Aberg originally. Now I forget. One of our guests corrected me on a show. Then you got Colin Morikawa at 10.1. And I'm going to loop Max Home at 9,900 into that group. I love Hideki this week. I think he's a perfect guy to play this week. I am concerned about his ownership percentage. I am concerned about the Masters next week. But where are you in this range here? Then, if you're not on Rory?
He looks like old Hideki. I mean, this is what we saw when he was back in Masters times. It's like he's ball striking his butt off. He's actually putting pretty well lately, which is scary for the rest of the field. But I don't know. I just worry about him the week before the Masters a little bit. I think Oberg is my favorite play. Ludwig, He's my favorite play. I think he just seems like he fits. I mean, he hits the ball long and straight. We know that you have to do that here. So I like him the best in this range. I don't have like a second option at the moment right now. Homa's interesting to me because I think he's going to be lower owned. Like, yeah, 9%. I mean, that's
What's
interesting to
going
me.
on with Max Homa? Because he has
Weird.
not played well this year at all by his standards. He's 64th at the Players, 8th. He had the 8th and the 16th. He's got a missed cut at the Phoenix, 66th at Pebble Beach. Like, he just hasn't, like, he's had some good events, and he's had some really awful events. He's very inconsistent this year off the tee and on approach, which is very unlike Max Homa.
Morikawa's the same way. Like that
Morikawa
price
is
seems
I
wrong.
think Morikawa's been going on for 6 months to a year now, though.
Yeah, that price seems off to me, Morikawa's for sure. So, but I
Yeah,
agree with you with Homa. It's like Homa, it's like, dude, something's off. He just doesn't even
yeah.
like his like quote unquote good weeks. Like he didn't look overwhelmingly good or anything. It's not like he's.
Are these prices wrong this week in the upper range? I mean, because we just mentioned a bunch of really big name guys, multiple major champions, and guys like
Mhm.
Homa that could win one at some point in their career. But that's it. I mean, the rest of the field is really really weak this week. So, you know, is that what the weak field? Is that what caused these prices to be a little inflated or more than they should be?
I think they got the pricing wrong this week a lot
Yeah,
in a lot of spots. I feel like Fitz should be above Morikawa and Homa.
absolutely agree.
I feel like Corey Connor should be above both of those guys too with his course history. I mean, he's won here twice.
Absolutely,
He's been playing better golf. I feel like 9,400 is too cheap for Corey Connors this week, which
absolutely
is
agree
going to
with you.
make him
I
40%
could have
better.
made an argument to put Corey Connors at like 10-5 this week,
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah.
And the whole I know Corey Connors has never won the Masters, but Corey Connors has played well at the Masters many of
Right.
times. The argument that we make that you kind of let off those guys, going into the Masters, Corey Connors proves that that's not because he's won this event twice and then gone on to have really good Masters runs
Right.
after winning and contending in this event.
And if there's ever been a course and an event that's built for him, it's this one. Like
Yeah.
he just fits this course perfectly. So
Yeah. So, I mean, I have Corey So Corey Connors and Hideki, in my opinion, are going to be in the upper range. Yeah, you mentioned ownership on Max Homa. He's right now at 8.9%, Colin at 7.8. That's fine. But Corey Connors is going to be one of the top owned guys. Him and Hideki, I think, will be the two
I
highest
think
owned
so.
guys come lineups locking on Thursday.
I think so too. I think Connors hits 30%. I really do.
30%.
Mhm.
Wow. That I mean,
It's
that's if that's the case, then that's a complete and total fade there for me. I'm not playing
it's tough.
30% Corey Connors.
Yeah, yeah. No, I have
Really
to
tough.
agree with you on that one.
I mean, Matthew
Mhm.
Fitzpatrick's at like hold on, I went off the screen for a second. 8.9 right now for Matthew Fitzpatrick. Matthew Fitzpatrick is probably my favorite play, and he was the first bet I made. Um, Now I'm having a brain fart. What did he do right before the Players? He changed something.
Yeah, his driver. Did you hear what happened? His
No.
driver had a weight on it and he didn't know.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
He forgot he put a training weight on his driver, forgot to take it off for several tournaments, took it off before the
Oh,
Players, and instantly I forget where he finished
fifth,
the Players, but it was
fifth.
a really good
Oh,
finish.
fifth. So he was bombing it everywhere. Like he's definitely longer than he used to be, but he was
Mhm,
spraying it all over the place. And then he realized that he had the
mhm.
weight on his driver still.
Yeah. So I'm all about Matthew Fitzpatrick this week. I think
Oh,
Matthew
yeah.
Fitzpatrick, especially if he stays under 10%. Um, when I build lineups tomorrow, if he's still under 10%, there's a good chance he's in that 12 to 15 out of 20 lineups. That's how good of a fit this is for him. He's getting into form after the Players. He's ramping up for the Masters. I think Matthew Fitzpatrick, I will play Hideki no matter what his ownership is this week. But Matthew Fitzpatrick at 9,700 to me is the only 9K and above slam dunk play, in my opinion.
I think if we factor in ownership for sure, I think that's true.
Yeah.
I love Fitz this week too, to be honest with you. I love
Yeah.
the course fit. I love that he's starting to play better. Like obviously
Mhm.
hitting the ball straight again helps the cause. But I agree with you. He's a good bet and a good DFS player. He's gonna be in a lot of my lineups for sure.
Absolutely. What about Jordan Spieth? Because he's another one, just like Corey Connors, who, you know, he's had success at this event and at the Masters. So again, and this is not always the week before the Masters, this event, but it's
No.
always in the lead up to the Masters. So it's either the week before or 2 weeks before the Masters. Spieth's another guy, just like Colin Morikawa, just like Max Homa, that haven't been on their A game this year. Do you worry about Jordan Spieth not bottoming out, but he's kind of on a downward trajectory to an extent?
I do. I worry about his approach game, I think, the most. So 1, 2, 3, 4.
On my model, in the last
Mhm.
36 rounds, he's 122nd in the field on approach.
He's lost an approach 6 of the last 9 tournaments he's
Damn,
played. That's insane. That's
that is.
terrible. Like, that's and he's lost 3 in a row off the tee too. It's like, you combine that with the approach game right now. I know he's been great at this course. I know next week's his money event, but I just can't get to Jordan Spieth. I know a lot of people are getting to him, but
But again, just like some of those other names that we mentioned, sub 10% ownership on Jordan Spieth. Would you
which helps.
rather take a chance there? Because what are the odds that Jordan Spieth misses the cut this week? I mean,
Yeah.
probably not. So you're going to get 4 rounds of Jordan Spieth at 10% or Hideki at 20%.
Okay, hypothetical for you.
Okay.
Corey Connors gets to 25, 30%. Do you like him or Spieth at single digit percentage?
You're
I think it's
really
time.
putting me on
I feel like it's
tough one
time.
there. I mean,
I don't
I would
think
maybe just to be different want to go Spieth. I mean, he's already won this event. What, Corey Connors, 2 of the last 4 years?
yeah.
What are the odds that he wins it a third time in 5 years? I mean, not very. How many people win the same outside of take Tiger Woods out of the
Right,
equation? Outside of him, what other golfers win one event 3 times in 5 years?
right. Good point. That's
So,
fair.
I mean, I don't know if I could like, I don't think Corey Connors has that win upside to justify a 30% ownership.
Well, it sucks too because Corey Connors hadn't been playing all that great of golf until he's been better with the last, is it like 3 events or 2 events that he's
Mhm.
played? So yeah, 18th at Arnold Palmer and 13th in the Players. Like before that, you were seeing like mixed results, 33rd, 57th, 31st, 28th, like nothing that jumps off the page. But I think him playing well 2 weeks in a row, including the Players, that doesn't help the cause for
Yeah.
ownership.
All right. I think I mean, I don't know if you've got anything on Fleetwood or Benyon or any of those other guys we haven't
I like
mentioned.
Benny but I think everybody
Yeah.
likes Benny. That's the
Yeah.
scary part.
Yeah.
Well, 13.7, that's not terrible. I think his game fits the course perfectly too. I think he's had pretty good history here too as well. Yeah, a T6 and a T7 here, so I like him.
Let's jump into that 8K then,
Mm.
because I think there's some interesting names down here. You got Billy Horschel at the top of it. Alec Noren. Everybody loves Alec Noren. Alec Noren never wins, but Alec Noren's a great DFS play. But his ownership percentage this week is pushing 17%. I bet you it creeps up to 20%. But there's not a lot of excitement in this range. You got a lot of boring guys. You got Brian Harmon, Harris English, Adam Scott, a lot of guys that are just whatever. Where do you go in this range? Do you go to the popular play on Norin, or do you go to some of these less popular names in the middle or bottom range of this 8K range?
It's hard because I like Nolan this week, but I feel like at 16 to 18%, that just seems ridiculous to me.
Mhm.
I'm going to be playing Horschel for sure.
Okay.
The bottom of this range is actually kind of interesting to me. Neither one of these guys have been very good, but I think their games fit this course. Ricky has good course history here, so he's one. And then Tom Kim, like Tom Kim's a really good golfer. Is he going to at some
He
point
is.
turn it around? I feel like this is the kind of course where we could see him do something. So Tom Kim is interesting to me.
Yeah, you mentioned Ricky, and I was going to ask you what your thoughts are on Ricky because I know Ricky hasn't been great. Ricky has not been great this year, but it's not like he's missing a lot of cuts like years past. You know what I mean? When he
Well, and
was
you're looking
really
at
in his downfall, he was missing cuts 2 out of 3 weeks, 3 out of 4 weeks, and whatnot. He's only missed 1 cut at the Phoenix Open. But I'm looking
Well,
at his
you're
player
looking at
profile.
so 3 of the past 4 he had 1 miscut, but the other 3 in the last 4 years, T17,
Yeah,
T17, T10. And
yeah.
that's really good course
But
history.
but 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 you look at his player
Mhm.
profile. So his last event was the Players.
Yep.
Lost 6.1 strokes tee to green, lost 4.5 strokes off the tee, 3 and
Not
a
great.
half on approach. The week
Not
before that
great.
at the Arnold Palmer,
Mhm.
36th place, lost strokes on tee to green, off the tee, and less than 1 stroke gained on approach. The Cognizant Classic, I guess, is what the classic is. Lost strokes on approach. The Genesis, 35th place, lost strokes everywhere but putting.
Yep.
Pebble Beach, 47th place, lost everywhere but approach. So like he is literally losing strokes everywhere, but still making cuts. And he's
His stat
got great
profile
success here.
his stat profile right now, okay, so just over the last 24 rounds, just to kind of give a how bad his stats are. Tee to green, 129th in the field. Approach, 104th. Off the tee, 143rd. Birdie or better, 131. Greens in regulation, 132. Around the green, 77. Like his stat profile is so bad right now. That's about as bad as it gets.
It's really,
But his
really
course history is
big.
awesome. So it's like, do
So,
we?
that's where like I'm sitting here. I'm like, if I could get away, convince myself to play at 25-30% Corey Connors, I could convince myself to play at 20-25% Hideki, and then mix in a 3% Ricky Fowler or Tom Kim. You brought up Tom Kim. Tom Kim is like one of the most betting popular guys. Everybody's bet Tom Kim this week. Um,
Which is weird because he's not been
yeah,
good.
it's really weird. I don't like that bet at all.
No.
Um, Throwing Ricky with the two high owned guys at 3%, that balances out your lineup a little bit, doesn't it?
That goes back to the building thing. I think we talk about this all the time. People get so caught up in ownership of one guy. It's
Yeah.
like you don't have to be extremely different to be different. You could put one or two guys that are different, like a 3% Ricky or a 3% Tom Kim, or both, or guys like that, and your lineup's different. So you don't have to go overboard. You can play the guys you want to play, sprinkle in low owned guys. You don't have to go
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, I'm not talking or recommending people put Ricky Fowler in 20 out of 20 lineups,
No.
but
Sure.
it makes sense to put him in 4 to 6 lineups
Yeah.
to balance out that ownership percentage
Yeah.
if you want to stick to the Hidekis and the Corey Connors this week.
I completely agree.
What if you had so both are right in that low 3%, Tom Kim and Ricky Fowler. You can only play one. Who are you playing?
For me, probably Ricky.
Yeah, it's Ricky for me. Ricky, I put Ricky down. I didn't think you would mention Ricky because I don't know. I've never really heard you talk too much about Ricky, and that was going to be my surprise. But you're on the same page as me with that one, so
He scares the
I'm
life.
glad we're thinking the same way there.
Ricky scares me every week, but I
Yeah,
love Ricky. So
Ricky can blow up and
Mhm.
miss the cut and finish dead last. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So all right, into that 7K range. Lots of names starred. I don't have a lot of names written down, but a lot of names starred. Obviously, Aaron Rise, a guy I supposedly play a lot of.
Phil's
Actually
favorite
had a
player in
really
golf.
good finish last week.
Favorite golfer in
Um,
history of golf for
yeah,
Phil, Aaron Rye.
supposedly. You got
Aaron Rye
Pataya,
1, Tiger 2.
yeah, EVR, Lucas Glover, Putnam, Eckroat, Sam Ryder. There's a lot of interesting names, and I could build lineups personally. I wouldn't, but I could personally build lineups straight out of the 7K range.
Who do you
I
like?
feel
You like
comfortable.
those guys that you just mentioned?
Yeah, I guarantee I will play a bunch of Rye, Bataya, Mitchell, EVR. All those guys will be in multiple lineups for me. Where the most um how do I phrase it the right way? The range with the most names getting used is in the 7K for me this week. For sure. Without a doubt. And yeah, I bet you Rye, Bataya, Mitchell, EVR, Glover, because they're the one I have Putnam and Eckroat down too. But those four names are gonna get 5 to 7 clicks each every single all week long when I'm building them.
Yeah. But I mean, Putnam's another one that not hasn't
Yeah.
looked really good, but he has good course history. I mean, that's interesting. But I feel like a win for Mateus coming again soon. He
Yeah.
just looks like I don't know. He played really well last week, but like just the way that he plays the game, I just feel like a win's coming
He's
again
got a
soon for him.
swagger. Like
Yeah,
I
he
kind of
does.
feel like his swagger would be good for the PGA if he went. I'm not saying he's going to ever be even a tenth of Scotty Scheffler good, but if Bataya becomes a guy that we think of in the name, I'm trying to look at just this week's field. Like if Bataya could become Jordan Spieth good, or
Yeah.
Corey Connors good, even you know what I mean? Like that would
I
be good
think
for the game. Like if you take Corey Connors wins and record and put Bataya's personality and swagger, you got a great young face to market in the PGA Tour.
it's kind of what I like about him is because I think he thinks he's on that level, like already.
Yeah.
So like he
He
believes in
thinks he
himself.
is.
So
He's not.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, he's not. But I feel like he thinks he is. And he plays. I mean, he plays like a really confident golfer, which I like.
Yeah.
I like him a lot this week. What are you doing with Keith Mitchell? Are you going back to that well, or are you gonna stay away?
I mean, he's on my list. My pre like final list right now. Let me double check. I why did I write him down? I mean, he hasn't played here since 2021. He had a good finish then. Um, I don't know. Sometimes I kind of feel like when you miss a cut, but you've been playing really well. Sometimes I can kind of get past it. Like his Houston Open miscut, can I get past it? I mean, he gained strokes off the tee. He gained strokes on approach, tee to green, everything. He just lost around the green and putting. He lost combined like 2.5 strokes.
He also
So
had
as long as he does that, okay, I think he could be good. He was good for a really long time, from the Farmers to the Houston Open. He was playing really good golf.
I just worry about his meltdown. What was that? 2 weeks ago
Yeah,
when he was leading. Like I just worry about that affecting him for a guy that doesn't win all that often.
He took a week off. He
Yeah.
reset the mind, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if what I'm gonna do with him. I do like Denny. He's interesting to me. I think he has pretty good course history, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. 3 out of 4
Yeah,
cuts.
18th and 20th.
I just
Yeah,
love Denny.
he's got some decent course history there. Lucas Glover's another one, a very popular name, really good player this year. Got great course history. He's got a 4th and 18th and 14th year.
How do you feel about
actually played
15% ownership for Glover?
I kind of feel like as long as you're getting different elsewhere, that's okay to me. Because I really think when Sunday rolls around, someone like Lucas Glover can be on the leaderboard. He could be in the top 10 without a doubt. Here's another thing, and I did this already with Ricky Fowler because I forgot he won last year and got in. Do you take into account whether they've already qualified for the Masters or not? Lucas Glover has. But there's some guys playing this week that'll win this week, gets them into the Masters next week. Do you take that into account when you're thinking?
It's funny because I would say no. My first thought is no, but then you hear that 8 of the last 11 winners have been first-time winners. So maybe
they're trying to get into the Masters for the first time.
Maybe
I mean that's a huge deal. Getting to play in the Masters is a big deal for your career,
for sure. But I mean, I don't know. I just come from the mindset of all these guys teeing it up want to win. So it's like, is it really extra like does extra motivation mean anything in golf? Maybe in basketball or football or something it does, but in golf does it really mean
I just brought up the Masters pricing. I'm already calling it. This guy is going to be 25 to 30% owned this week. He's going to be over 20% next week. Corey Connors is only 7,500 for the Masters. 7,500 Corey Connors at Augusta, man.
How many people are going to start their lineups with Scotty and then Connors?
I mean, probably a lot of golfers.
Yeah,
a lot of DFS players because I mean that price is so damn cheap. Anyway, sorry. I know I said I'd save the Masters talk for the end of the show. Anybody else 7K, even into the 6K that you like this week? I like Sam Ryder at 7K. He's played great golf this year, and he's hitting the ball really well. So, I'm not worried about the ownership with him or anything like that. I'm just going to keep ride or dying with Sam Ryder.
Get it? Victor Perez has been really good. That's one guy for me, for sure. 7,100. I like him a lot. Kind of going down into the 6Ks, I think Lee Hodges is probably my favorite play, 6,700. He had a T6 here last year. He's been in pretty good form. He's actually a fairly good player, so I like him. I think I'm going to stick with my boy Ryan Moore too. I can't believe I'm saying this, but he's been really good for the past 3-4 weeks.
Well, how about Ryan Moore though, and ownership though? Because I love Ryan Moore. I bet him 90 to 1. He popped, but he's pushing 15% ownership. Ryan Moore.
Well, then never mind for me. No, yeah, you're right. 14 points.
No, I'm still playing him. I guarantee you, Ryan Moore will be in 8 to 10 lineups. I'm going to find other places to get different because I like
15% for me. It's too rich. That's too rich for me.
Yeah, I'm going to go with it. Like I said, I ride and died with Doug Gim until the wheels fell off, and they fell off the last 2 weeks.
Until you died. Yeah.
What?
They said you ride or died until you died, and then
he became the Gim Reaper. So he's done. He's off the board for me. So I'm going to ride with someone like Ryan Moore till he proves me wrong, and I'm going to ride with another guy much further down that actually, and this proves the point on ownership and how you can use ownership to your advantage if you get the right guys to match with the high owned guys, and that's Bud Cauley. I've been riding with him a lot this year. I know he missed the cut to Valspar a couple weeks ago, but last week he finished 45th. He was actually much better than he had a bad Sunday, Bud Cauley. But he was 0.3% owned in the 3 Max contest. And I had him in 2 of the 3 lineups. And they both cashed those lineups. Because I had guys, I had Tagala at 35%, and then I had another guy at 0.3% that made the cut. So when a golfer of the lower echelon gets hot, I just feel like you ride them till they're done. Till the ride's over, basically.
Well, and that's a good point. I think so much goes into how do you pick the lower guys. To me, it's all about recent form. Like these guys are obviously.
It's almost like I wish I could build my model 2 ways.
Yeah.
With everybody 8,500 and above the last 36, and then the guys in the 6K, 5K. I just want to look at the last 16 rounds, last 3 events, and that's about it.
Well, and they're priced down there for a reason, so they're not. Like outstanding golfers. If they played 3-4 tournaments in a row and played well, that's a guy that I'm going to play. And I think one of those guys that fits that for me is Max Gracerman. I mean, he's just been solid. I mean, his last 4 starts: 47th, T15 at Puerto Rico, 33rd at Valspar, and 7th last week. I hate that he's 9% because I was hoping he'd be less than that, but that's a smash play for me at 6,500.
What about guys like a guy like Charlie Hoffman? Has missed 3 straight cuts.
He's got good
Terrible
course
form,
history.
but he's got fantastic. I mean, I was reading. I didn't know they do this, but people actually say this is the Charlie Hoffman Open. Like that's how good he plays at this event.
Between here and
So
Phoenix.
do you take
Yeah.
that into account? Like the guy's a terrible. He's a good golfer in his career. He's got wins. He's had ups. He's had downs in his career. I hate his green golf club when he wears it. It's just so ugly, that green golf club. I just want to rip it off his hand so bad. But do you take into account, like, you want to ride the hot hand while they're still hot, but also sometimes you want to find the week that starts a turnaround.
Yeah.
We talked about it all last year. When's Ricky going to turn around? Is this a week? Do you take a chance on a guy like Charlie Hoffman because of the course history?
There's 2 tournaments that you do, and it's this one in Phoenix. And he
Yeah.
played well in Phoenix, even though he's been terrible. So I don't know.
It's a tough argument to make there for sure. Because when he's missed 3 straight cuts, how can you justify playing a guy? But
What's the ownership at?
6,400. He's at 6% right now, which I'm surprised it's that high. It's
Yeah.
only that high because of his success here before.
People are smart, and that sucks. But yeah,
There's far too many smart people out
I
there.
know.
And there's one other name that I'll probably play in the low 6K, and that's Martin
Marty.
Laird.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got good course history. He's been playing okay golf. He's only
He's actually been
6,100.
pretty good lately too.
Yeah.
I almost played him last week, and I wish I would have.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have to dip into the 5K this week.
No.
I don't think it's necessary. I'm sure there'll be 1 or 2 5K guys that make runs this week and all. But I just think that there's enough good quality plays in the 7K range, and we're not going crazy. If you're not going crazy with Rory, you don't need the 7K or the 5K range.
Yeah. One more that I forgot to mention, Cage Lee. I like this week, 6,900. TPC Lee, like him.
Is that what you call him? TPC Lee?
That's not what I call him, but that's what
You
I mean.
You
that
didn't
is
come
what
up with
I
that
call
all
him.
by. I was going
I didn't make that up.
You came up with that all by yourself.
I did not make that up, but I do call
No, gotcha. All right, where are we at with lineups and stuff like that and contests? I know I had a bad week last week. I think you took the lead in that contest.
Yeah, I took the lead last week. I had a 6 of 6. I actually got up to 32nd in the $1, which I was pretty pumped about. At one point, I ended up finishing 143rd. But I am up right now. I have 5 wins. You have 4, and the guests have 1. So you will be going first this week.
Okay. And then how about with our one and dones?
With our one and done,
I had Tagala last week, and
Yep.
he didn't have a great week.
I had Finau. So I ended up taking the lead. I am roughly $80,000 up on you, which is not anything really.
Yeah, that's like neck and neck right there. All right, let's build some lineups here. These lineups are brought to you by Fantasy Golf Pod. Check out Chad and the boys Wednesdays 4:20 at Fantasy Golf Pod. They're cracking beers and they're talking golf just like us. They bring another perspective to the table, just like we have a different perspective on it. So make sure you check them out. And we're also always brought to you by Fantasy National. Check them out, fantasynational.com, the best model making tools in the business. I was just on the Masters, so I got to go back to a different screen here on my sideboard here to bring up this week. So I get to go first, is what you're saying.
Yep.
All right, I'm going to go first, and I'm just going to take it. My first pick on our head-to-head contest, Matthew Fitzpatrick. Not wasting any time. Just taking the. In my opinion, I think Matthew Fitzpatrick wins this week. That's my guess.
I like that too. I'm gonna go value. I'm gonna go KH Lee. We just talked about
KH Lee. All right, that's good. I'm gonna get really fun here. Okay, I know I already went with a high-priced guy in Matthew Fitzpatrick, right? But I'm gonna prove to you that you could build a lineup that's actually fairly comfortable. And I'm going to take Hideki Matsuyama as well. So I'm starting a lineup with Matthew Fitzpatrick and Hideki at the same time.
I do like that.
We're going to see how this plays out. I don't know how it's going to play out, but I think it's going to work out.
I don't think many people are going to do that. So I actually like that a lot.
I mean, it's still, like, honestly, because of the way the pricing is, I'm still left with over 7,400. And combined ownership right now is projected only at 30%. Actually, just under 30% for those two guys. So I'm keeping it unique enough. I'm going 2 top-heavy guys, and I've still got plenty of money. I don't even need to use a 6K guy if I wanted to in this build.
I'm going to go the exact opposite. I'm going to go value again. I'm going to go Max Gracerman.
Okay. All right. I like it. All right. So now I have 74. Now I got to go down the
We are
board.
building exactly the opposite lineup right now.
Yeah. Well, now I have to go low because now I've spent so much on the first two guys. And I'm going to go with Mr. Old Reliable, Sam Ryder, who's been in literally. I don't think there's been a week yet this year that I haven't played Sam Ryder.
I'm going to go with Fitz is my favorite play of the week, like you. I'm going to go with my second favorite play of the week. I'm going to go Aubert, Ludwig.
All right.
I think he's made for this course. That's kind of what it boils down to.
Yeah, I think that's pretty safe. I do. All right, we're gonna go Ryan Moore. We're gonna ignore the ownership on Ryan Moore. And now I've got four plays in. Fitzpatrick, Matsuyama, 2 high-owned guys, and then 2 low guys in Ryder and Moore. I've got over 8K left to build with here.
That's pretty solid.
I mean, I just went with 2 top guys, and I could still do this. And I think that's a great way to go.
You said Ryan Moore, right? I'm gonna go Corey Connors.
Corey Connors. Yeah. So you're kind of similar to me here. I'm going Fitzpatrick, Matsuyama. You're going Oberg and Connors, both higher priced guys with higher ownership. I mean, we're going to see if this works this week or not. So it's not as stars and scrubs, heroes and zeros as people think the way we're building it this week, right?
Our lineups are actually built the exact same right now, pretty much.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna leave Batella on the board in case you want him. So I'm gonna go Aaron Rye.
Well, thanks.
Just to continue that there, okay?
I'm
gonna be polite and
you act like you're being nice, and then you picked your favorite golfer on tour. So,
you want me to take him off and put Batella?
No, go ahead.
We're gonna add a wild card in later this year, where if I take a golfer and you get one wild card throughout the rest of the year, that you could steal him from me.
Yep.
For the contest, and I'll get one wild card. And when you steal him, you get to pick the golfer that replaces him. Sorry. Nope. Fox's Pizza, may I help you?
Jackson and Sullivan got FaceTime, so that's what we're working with these days.
One of these days, you're going to have to FaceTime him and put him on the screen.
I know. He would love that. We could call him in. He would. I'm going to go Billy Horschel as my pick.
Billy Horschel. Okay. All right. So I got 8,400 for my last play. I'm going to go with another low-owned guy. I'm going to go Ricky Fowler. So I went Fitzpatrick, Matsuyama, Ryder, Moore, Rye, and Fowler.
Okay. I'm going to do it, I guess. I'm going to go Akshay Batella.
Yeah. I knew it. I helped you out there. I'm trying to be a nice guy. Trying to be a good friend.
Listen. It's very helpful.
No.
All right. Since I took the lead for one and done, I'm going to pick my one and done. And I am going to pick I'm gonna go. Shit. Maybe I'm gonna defer. You can pick.
Okay. I'm going Matthew Fitzpatrick for my one and done this week. Like I said, I think he's going to win. I can already predict I'm not going to pick him in one and dones for the majors. So it's a Matthew Fitzpatrick week for me. He's going to be my top clicked guy. He was my biggest bet I made for outrights, and he's my one and done this week. Okay. It's a Fitzpatrick week for me.
I'm going to pick Horschel.
Okay. That's like I'm going Mr. Consistent, Matthew. He's gonna do decent at a minimum, but Horschel's either gonna be like top 3.
Horschel is so streaky. He's like when he's on, he's really good, but when he's most of the time he's not on.
So did you make any bets yet this week? Because I think I've mentioned I've made 4. I bet Fitzpatrick 25-1, Batella 50-1. I did bet Aaron Rye for a second week in a row at 60-1, and then Ryan Moore at 90-1.
Okay.
I like the Ryan Moore 90-1. By the way, let me point this out much more than I like Ryan Moore $6,500 at 16% or whatever it turns into.
Yeah, the ownership is the problem right there.
The ownership's killer on Ryan Moore this week.
Yep, I agree with you on that one. I have bet a few guys this week. I bet Benny on at 30-1, which is I don't like. I bet Connors 25-1, and I bet Matsuyama 20 so far. Those are my 3.
Gotcha. I wanted to check here. Golf Tip Checkers. If you ever want to see who they don't sponsor the show, I'm going to give them a little shout out there because I love them. They collect data from 500 to 1,000 golf content creators and track everybody's outright bets. And right now, I'm going to give you the top 5 guys bet this week. and their average odds. Do you know who the number one? I don't know if you've seen their post yet. They
I'm not.
for their odds. The number one bet guy this week. Who is it?
Could be Horschel.
It is Boily Horschel, 33 to
Yeah.
1.
Okay.
The Zudenhout, 40 to 1's number 2. Riley's 80 to 1. Like, is Davis Riley playing good golf this week? I don't even
He
know.
played one good turn. He played good last week. I think he had a 14th, but
Yeah.
no.
80 to 1. He's the third most bet guy. Hideki, 20 to 1 is the fourth most bet guy. And Ryan Moore is the fifth most bet guy. Average odds were 100 to 1. I love checking their things out because it kind of I sometimes like it bothers me when I'm the only guy on somebody,
Right.
but then it also gives me like, all right, I'm thinking the same as all these other
Yeah.
smart people when we're all on the same page.
Yeah. I just don't see Ryan Moore ever winning a golf tournament, to be honest with you. Or
Yeah.
I know Davis Riley won the team one, but I don't know. I just don't see him as a bet.
Well, I want to pull it. I don't even know. Like I was just shocked seeing David. He's 6,800.
He's been. I almost played him last week, and he actually played well. He's been horrible. Like
he missed 3 of his previous 4 cuts before that top 15 last week. He hasn't had a top 40 before last week's Houston Open. His last top 40 was the Zuzu in October 23, and that was a 31st. He hasn't had a top 20 since the Arnold Palmer last March.
He's already missed 6 cuts this year, this calendar year.
I don't know what the love with Davis Riley is. I really don't.
6 cuts this calendar year already. That's only. It's only.
We're just saying this calendar.
Yeah, it's only 3 months in.
We're not even talking like.
That's only like 8 events. Yeah.
That's terrible. That's just straight terrible. Anyway, so that's our bets. That's stuff. I do want to touch on for the final 5 minutes of the show, 10 minutes of the show. Masters pricing did come out. We're trying to stay away from the Masters a little bit, not to get confused this week. Did you glance at Masters pricing at all, or?
I have not because I'm slow and I don't want to get confused. Did you?
I'm looking at it right now.
And
there are no 5K range. Obviously, it's a smaller field, the Masters.
Okay,
I'm really shocked at some of the pricing at the top. First thing, though, that I want to say, I want to shout out DraftKings for one pricing for next week's Masters. And we'll touch on this in bigger part next week. Wyndam Clark is in the 10K range.
As he should be.
Ahead of Victor Hovland, Spieth, Cantlay, Xander isn't even in the 10K. Wyndam Clark is the 5th priced golfer for the Masters. And I think that's finally some respect going on his name.
No, I like that a lot. I think they got him right. I think they got Neiman right too, putting him up in the higher 9Ks.
Yeah,
so I like that too.
I love the genre. Everybody's gonna be betting Scotty Scheffler or playing Scotty Scheffler at 12-1. John Rahm, he's played really well in Live. I'm gonna be curious to see how the ownership, because I think in years past, the Live Tour has affected people playing Live golfers in majors because of their dislike of Live golf, right? So I think this year, though, I think the tides are changing. People are kind of over it all. They just want to watch good golf and good golfers play. I'll be curious to see how someone like John Rahm ranks ownership-wise versus Scotty Scheffler next week.
Can you just tell me? Okay, first of all, Scotty's 4-1 odds at the Masters, which is absolutely insane. Can you just tell me how Rory has the second best odds to win the Masters?
I wouldn't bet him a lick. There's just no way.
I just don't understand that. You're putting Rory ahead of Rahm, Koepka, Neiman, Hovland. Like, that's insane to me.
Yeah, I would never. Hold on, I want to look at something here. Man, Masters DraftKings on Fantasy Nationals there. I just want to see if they have any ownership projection stuff out yet for next week.
Scotty being 4-1 odds in the Masters is insane.
And you know what? It might be the best bet, honestly.
Yeah.
All right, so early ownership percentages, okay? Wyndam Clark 13%, Joakim Neiman only 12% right now. This is so early in the stretch. Right now, there's a 9.8% difference between Scotty Scheffler and John Rahm. Scotty Scheffler early on in projections is 26.9. John Rahm is 17.1. Dude, I'd be playing 100 John Rahms over one Scotty Scheffler at that price point.
I agree with you. You can't go wrong with either one of them, obviously. No. I think the Neiman price is good. That one's interesting to me because I don't think with him being 9,600, that's going to scare people a little bit, I think. Like, if you put him as your second guy, that makes your lineup a little thin, and then you're not going to feel comfortable starting your lineup with him. So
The
That's
fifth,
good price.
the fifth most projected ownership
Mhm.
this early into the week. Sahith Tagala at 21%.
People love him.
Insane. Super high.
People love
Anyway,
him.
yeah. Oh, I love him a lot too, and maybe he does. I'm just gonna be paying super close attention to the live guys and where they end up. I don't know if you realize this, but Bryson DeChambeau is actually having a great season on live, and he's only 2% projections right now for DraftKings next week. So you better believe if that doesn't get up over 10%, I'm gonna be talking a lot about Bryson. Team Bryson's back next week, baby.
Listen, remember our boy Stewie was talking about him a couple weeks ago, so I bet
Yeah.
him.
Yeah. Bryson might be the steal of all. Bryson's either a
Mhm.
bomb or a bust at the Masters every week because of his erratic game, but I don't think his game is as erratic. I think he's toned it down a little bit. So Bryson's going to be the guy at the Masters maybe next week.
I love the play. I mean,
Yeah.
so I bet him at 40, which I love. I'll take that any
Who?
day.
Bryson
Bryson, yeah.
for the Masters already? Damn, look
I
at
bet
you becoming a betting master
I bet
here.
I
You
bet him
got
2 weeks ago.
futures. You got
I bet him
futures.
because Stewie said that he liked the bet, so I bet him like 2 weeks ago live on the show. I'm not I hate golf betting, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, I know. I used to love it. I'm starting to absolutely hate golf betting because it's such a crapshoot right now.
And I
But
think nobody's okay. Can I air a little grievance that I have
yeah.
with PGA DFS people?
Mhm.
Nobody talks about like where they are for the season. Nobody talks about how much they actually win, how like what's their ROI. Like so few people do.
Yeah.
There's a few people that do. There's
I
so few
tried
people.
to track it early last year, but
Mhm.
it got so complicated to keep track of it. Then you forget one week and then whatnot.
There's
So it's
nobody
tough.
everybody tells you their wins, but nobody tells
Yeah.
you when they have bad weeks. And
There's one or two people. I've seen some people track it, but yeah.
every tout says that they're so good at picking. It's like I want to see the numbers. It's like how many people are making money off DFS betting this year? No
Yeah.
one.
I'll admit I'm
I mean,
I'm doing terrible this year.
I'm doing
I'm
terrible
having
too.
my
Like,
worst year. Our first year doing it in full season, 2021. We were novices at that point doing this, and I had a better year then than now. I'm
yeah.
missing every bet. I'm not cashing every single week, dude. Some weeks I'm not even. 2 weeks ago, I told you I didn't even have a single 5 for 6 lineup, let alone a 6 for 6 lineup. So I'm having a terrible season. I'm
Even
losing.
DFS though, DFS is a lot harder now. I mean, so last week I did 22 lineups. I had 12 6 of 6, 6 5 of 6, and I only 2x my money. Like it wasn't like that could have been a
Right.
great week. It wasn't. Like it just wasn't.
Yeah.
So it was brutal.
Yeah. It's been a brutal year so far for golf, but it's been brutal for golf for a few years now with just everything going on.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, exactly.
it is what it is. All right, we're gonna wrap up Fairway to Heaven right there. Shout out to our sponsors again, Fantasy National, fantasynational.com. They're coming out with an app. It's in the beta format right now. But check them out on their website. Let them know that you found them and heard of them right here on Fairway to Heaven. Shout out to Chad and the boys at Fantasy Golf Pod, cracking beers, talking golf, 420 tomorrow. And yeah, we're right here on Fairway to Heaven, right here on Philadelphia Sports Network. Jason,
Oh yeah, it's almost
it's
time.
out. It's out and ready to go for next week.
There we
The
go.
Masters coat is ready. Got
Almost
dusted
time.
off. I think I just saw dust bunnies fly in the air when I pulled that off. It has literally not been moved from that hanger in that spot since last year. So
It's the
yeah.
best. It's the best week of the
But
year.
it's ready to go on next week. We'll be back next week, 6 p.m. again, talking the Masters, baby. I'm so excited for the Masters.
Me too.
I said at the beginning of the show, I just want this to get over with.
Yep, same.
Yeah.
Win some money.
All right,
move on.
guys. We'll see you guys next week. Make sure you hit the like button, the share button, the subscribe, retweet button wherever you're watching. We'll be back next week with another episode, the Masters episode. This week's Valero Open. I got Matthew Fitzpatrick winning. I think Jason likes that idea too.
I do too.
Um,
Yeah.
for
Same.
Jason Sullivan, follow him at jsully2121. I am Phil Stiefel. We will see you guys next week.